This is one of those topics we just don't all agree on. So get your keyboard and clicker fingers ready because I'm about to say some mean things. The gold to silver ratio has been coming up a fair amount again, and if I was being mean, I would say something like, it's just people scrambling to find a statistic that makes silver look compelling. Now, have some fun, silver. I'm going to put that out. Maybe that will make it look compelling, and I don't know that that has anything to do with anything that anyone is doing. Some people really think that trading to the GSR is a strategy, and they're not going to be convinced otherwise, and I'm not going to try. So why would the current gold to silver ratio make silver actually look better? Well, the gold to silver ratio is a comparison that gives the amount of silver required to buy 1 ounce of gold. So when it's a high number, some people are going to tell you that silver is the better value. Well, right now it's sitting at around 90 to 1. So it would take 90 ounces of silver to buy 1 ounce of gold. And people will tell you that's high. So we're going to ignore the fun part for a minute, the fun part of buying silver, and we're just going to look at whether buying according to a ratio makes any sense at all. So if we look at a chart, we look at the last 12 months, the ratio has been as low as 78 to 1 and as high as about 91 to 1. So if this isn't making sense yet, one story around here is that you can play the gold to silver ratio as a spread trade. So you buy silver when the ratio is wide, you trade it for gold when it's narrow. And that makes perfect sense if you're a futures trader where trading involves tapping a screen or a keyboard. But if you're buying physical silver with the intent of trading it for physical gold, you have the added complexity of having to go out into the world and find somebody to trade with. So that, of course, is going to affect your timing or your ability to time this, whether you would be able to pull off a trade at the perfect time. And it also affects whether or not it's even possible. You would need to find a situation where you and the person that you're trading with are both happy. You need to find that at a time when you're the only person in the trade who should be. More than that, though, buying physical silver as a trade for gold involves premiums. You have to pay a premium on that silver that you're going to use to trade it. So right now, silver spot price is falling, and premiums have been falling too. So silver is $22.50, give or take, spot price. The premium on an American Silver Eagle, it's around 25%. So that's the lowest that it's been in a long time. And I know some of you are going to say, well, I can find a Silver Eagle for whatever, free. I'm going to try to keep this realistic. Let's say that a generic 10-ounce silver bar is around 9%, an American Silver Eagle is around 25%. Those are going to be our bookends. Now, silver is priced right now really as if nobody wants it. I'm just going to throw in a little bit of non-advice because to me, that's when you want to buy something. You want to buy it when the price is beaten down and people just aren't excited about it. You got to slow down though because premiums are still going to be significant even when they're low because in a trade, you're going to lose that. Now let's come back to lost premiums because that's using logic and we just aren't there yet. If you think of gold and silver as having the same purpose, well, you might see the swings in the ratio as confirmation bias. We can see that if we would have bought silver here and traded it for gold here, well, we would have come out ahead, but that's just if we're tapping buttons making a trade online. We're not talking about premiums and we're not having to go out into the real world finding some kind of agreeable party for the other side of the trade. Now, if we are working with physical metals, and if you're watching this video, that's what we're here to talk about, you had a 9% premium involved, and that's just a minimum. Most of us are buying physical silver at a lot higher premium than that. Don't worry, this is a safe place. 20% more, that's probably the actual number, but we're just going to go with 9% for bars. We'll say 14% for rounds. So if we bought at the perfect time in the past 12 months when the GSR was 91, and then we sold at the perfect time when it was 79, well, we would have pulled off a 13% discount by the time of that trade. So case closed. GSR works. It works as long as we timed that purchase perfectly, we timed the trade perfectly, and the silver had a premium of less than 13%. Now hold on, right? I'm not accounting for history. Historically, the GSR is so much tighter. Okay, so let's be fair. Let's take the chart back further. Let's take it back 4 years. Now we can see that it's been as tight as 64. Now granted, only for a day, but we're looking for possibilities. It's been as high as 124. Again, only for a day, but it's right there on the chart, right? You could have doubled your gold had you bought all of your silver that specific day and then traded it that other specific day. Again, that's ignoring any lost premium. So get in on this giveaway that SD Bullion is doing. They're giving away an entire monster box of silver. You win that and we don't have to worry about the charts. So if we tighten this up, the typical GSR spread falls inside this band. So somewhere between the high 70s and low 90s. And if you play that perfectly, you're going to see a potential 14% discount on gold. That's the dream. So keep your premiums below that amount and you've successfully played the GSR. Now, when I see people advising that approach, though, they aren't using this band. They're using unicorn territory, buying silver up here, and then referencing historical gold to silver ratios of like 25-1, something from 100 years ago when horses were still the fastest way to travel. So we don't need to go back 225 years or even 100 years, but for fun, let's go back 24. Let's face it, the demographic here leans a little bit older, so most of us were around to remember the year 2000. So historical charts are great. They're going to show us trend. And when I look at the historical chart for gold and silver, I see the GSR diverging. It's actually getting wider. And we can see two outliers here. We see one happening in 2011 and we see another happening in 2021. So if we use historical markers, we'll see that it's actually getting harder and harder because the GSR is diverging. There's no question that we see good trading opportunities popping up, but 10 years seems like a long time to wait. So I think the charts make it pretty clear. Playing the ratio for financial gain is a long shot, and none of us are buying everything we have a day or two every 10 years. We actually average along the way, so our costs get continually closer to that trend line. We don't actually have a lot of exposure to the peaks or the valleys. Okay, so we got the fun hating out of the way. Let's get back to the idea here. Maybe you see gold and silver as having a similar purpose. Maybe the idea is to buy the silver, store it so that you have it available in that unlikely emergency need, and then eventually roll it into gold if and when the timing makes sense. So less about financial gain, more about path of least resistance. Even though I don't think that it's logical to buy silver as a road to gold, I know that it's common. Most shops are going to buy and sell both metals. I can get all of this on the desk here from the same place. So you're in the same ecosystem. Now, you'd be very hard pressed to find a dealer willing to make you an even swap silver for gold at a time when the ratio favors your side of that trade, but you would at least know where to go to try it. Now, if you're new to this idea and you're hearing or seeing somebody's advice about buying silver because that GSR is so high, about the historical nonsense, and then you want to jump in and try it out, well, I'm fun hating again here, but I think we need a counterpoint to that kind of advice, because if you don't have a person already lined up to trade with, well, you'll probably lose out on a swap like that. You'll lose out on a GSR swap in any case other than those wild events that I showed on the charts that only come up about a decade or so. Now, if you're already convinced on the idea that trading the GSR works, well, that's great. And I'm not even here to argue it because you obviously know what's best for you. Now, me personally, when I've traded silver for gold in the past, it felt pretty good. It felt like buying gold with capital that I'd already written off. It was free gold. I didn't have any side eye from my wife. It wasn't a taxable event that anyone knows about. I walked in with silver. I walked out with gold. In my specific cases, I was using low premium 10-ounce silver bars. They were Sunshine Mint bars, and I was swapping them for American Eagle. So the premium hit wasn't terrible because I was using the generic bars. There was no hit to my bank account that would alert my wife, and it was relatively easy. It didn't make financial sense because the dealers weren't forgiving the premium, but I rolled it at a time when the GSR was in the low 70s, so I was happy enough. If I was happy, why am I making this video again? Well, people keep trying to explain in the comment section about how bad of a deal gold is right now, how good of a deal silver is. Well, I'm going to throw out a cautionary flag here. Just like there are always going to be silver bugs telling you the moonshot is right around the corner, there are people telling you the GSR is historically high, and it's only a matter of time before it resets. Resets usually means that people think some kind of gold standard is going to be implemented and government is going to set the value of silver at 15 to 1. Alakazam, you're now rich. Well, that's based on a what-if scenario that may or may not happen. And it's far more likely that it will not. I think hoping for the best is a good approach in general, but planning for it is a mistake. And sometimes it takes a 10-minute video with a little bit of fun hating just to explain that. Okay, so let's call it good there. Let us know what you think about silver being a legitimate road to gold. Do you play the ratio? Do you just pay attention to it? Do you ignore it altogether? Let us know. And then while you're in the comments, be sure to hit that like button if you found any of this interesting. Be sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on if you'd like to see more on the topic. And if you're still here, thanks again for watching. I always appreciate your time. Take care.